review really quick the first two sessions, but let me pray over us today because we need help. Don't know about you, but I do. So, Father, we just thank you for this opportunity to get into your word. We just pray for your insight and your wisdom to lead and guide us. Help to calm our hearts so that we can hear with clarity what you're trying to communicate to us today. Thank you so much for everything, Lord. Amen. And so we're continuing with the study, and it's called Say What. And we're talking about how words affect our outcome, our health outcomes. And I started speaking about an experience that I had with one of my clients and some things that I realized with the majority of the clients that I've worked with that were successful. And we spoke about this idea of openness and the power of it. Why? Because if we don't see that it's possible, then we won't even take a chance. And so this first component is so significant, and I've realized that it's something that was so beneficial when the clients that did obtain health results long term, they had this quality of openness. They just kind of showed up and said, okay, here we go. And then as we went along, they continued to receive the things that gave them evidence of what was taking place. And so our first section was on openness. And so that's going to be the first step. When you want to change your health, you want to change your eating habits, first you need to be open. The second session was when we looked at the correlation between what God said about it and this idea of change. And so we want to change. There's something we need to change, but us not doing it doesn't mean that we don't want to do it. If we're not able to accomplish something, oftentimes it's because we don't see what the root is. And so that's why I wanted to go over this word study with us. And so as we went into section 2, this idea of change, it was reinforced with us being able to change our mind. And changing our mind will change our perspective, and in turn, it will change our actions. And so when we take a look at this, what I want to show as well is this correlation between how we were designed. And if we want to take a look at how we were designed and why it is important for us to change our words and why it's important to be open, I want to look at these concepts within the word so that we can kind of get a better understanding of what we have available to us to accomplish this better health. And so in the second session, we took a look at, or started to look into the Bible and what it says about us being able to change our outcomes. And we're going into speaking. How do we reframe our mind with the words that we hear and the words that we say? And so as we look even in the first book of the Bible, we see how in Genesis God spoke and things took place. And how throughout the Bible, as we continue, we'll see the significance of the words and the impact that it can have on our life. And how our words were intended to be intentional. There's nothing that when we look at the word and we're made in God's image to where he just kind of, I just think I'll say this or say, no, there's reason, there's purpose behind everything that's said there. And this is an example for us. And so when we look at Genesis, we see how in the beginning, God said, and all of these things that he spoke, then they took place. And so if we want to change these outcomes in our health, we need to change our words so that we can change our thoughts and change our perspective, our behavior. And also they're going to help us to see ourselves properly so that we can take action. I mean, if I don't see myself as a creation that has feet with the ability to propel myself forward, back, and side to side, then I'll never dance, I'll never jump, I'll never walk. I'll never climb, I'll never do any of these things, because that first step of being able to see that I have these things so that I can use it will never take place. And so as we go through the word, we want to, these are going to give us that perspective of ourselves that's important in order for us to be able to take action. And now we're in our third section, and this is where we start to put some action behind it and see that connection between our mindset and how even when we take a look at scientific studies, this supports this idea. Okay? And so this is, once again, what it's going to take to be able to accomplish this transformation. And this is just in accordance to how we were designed. So it's not some concept that's just been created in the last 20 years. This is something that is evident when we go back thousands of years. Our words are very important. And so when I think about the clients that were open, I'm thinking about one person in particular, and she confirms or motivates herself by reminding herself, and really she's doing it to help herself to accomplish it. She's like, okay, well, let me remind myself. And it's just a very matter of fact and practical thing. But what's also happening is that she is reframing her mind about this new way of life, this new way of eating, this new way of moving. This is something, it's an individual, once again, that's over the age of 60. And so this person was just an opposite from this other client who received phenomenal results. Even this one client that I'm thinking about that I worked with before, they were about in the same age group, both in their 60s. The one individual has even obtained, I would say, maybe a higher level, of function and strength and even physical evidence when we're thinking about leaning down overall, losing body fat, function. I mean, doing exercises like weighted lunges and single leg exercises, using the BOSU. This is over 60, okay? And both of these people are in the same age group, but the one individual accomplished this in a shorter period of time. And still, even once accomplishing that, could not see it. They could not see, even though there was evidence. We had body fat and circumference measurements. We did flexibility assessments, strength assessments. All of those areas were improving, but the individual just couldn't see it. There was still complaining. There was still, what about this? Why not this? This should be, it was all of these negative words continuously. And because of this, the individual at some point convinced themselves to stop, and not just stop with the personal assistance, but they stopped altogether, because quickly went back to a very unhealthy lifestyle. And if it wasn't for the Lord, it would have been very disturbing for me, because what I do is extremely important to me, and seeing that it's just, I'm so closely tied to it. But if it wasn't for the Lord, it would have been extremely difficult. But now the person is in a worse condition than they were before. And of course, they're still here, so there's still hope to turn it around. But I contrast that with the person I'm working with now. They haven't seen those same results, and hasn't built the level of strength and function that the other person has, but yet they're so positive. They're coming to me, hey Janelle, I was able to, when I was cleaning the house and I went up the stairs and I had so much energy and this and that. And they're coming to me with all these positive reports, and they don't even have the results that the other individual has. But they remind themselves continuously, it's positivity, not just positivity. It's intent words that are beneficial for and true for their specific situation. Reminding their body of things that their body can do. And so this is the contrast, and this is where it was really, as I thought about this, I'm like, this is a pattern, your words can literally defeat you. And we're going to look at a passage pretty soon in the book of Numbers where we get an example of this as well. So let's take a look at this, where we can see this same example of how a person's words can override. And I want you to really think about this and what are those areas. And I'm thinking about this too, and this is why I came in to present this. Is it's like, well, if I have this area that I need to accomplish and I haven't accomplished it, what is it that's in my mind that's stopping me from being able to see this properly? And so this is where it's going to help you and I. So let's go to the book of Numbers 13. Okay, and I'm going to read here so you can get an idea of what's going on here. And it says, chapter 13, this is Numbers chapter 13, and we're going to go into, what's this, verse 26. And this is the report on the exploration. Okay, so they had went out to. God said that there was a land that they can have, and they were going out to explore this land. And as it was going out to explore this land, and then they were coming back to make a report to Moses and all the rest of the people about what they found. And so this is what happened. They came back to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the desert of Paran. There they reported to them and to the whole assembly and showed them the fruit of the land. They gave Moses this account. This is what they said. We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here's the fruit. So they showed them the evidence. They said, oh, it does. It's good. Here's the fruit. It does flow with milk and honey, and here's the evidence. And so just like my other client that had the evidence, and here it is. But the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. Now, my question is, how did they know that? How did they know that the people were powerful? They didn't encounter the individuals. Like, they didn't go to meet them face to face. They were just looking at what they weren't saying what they assumed. So they drew a conclusion over something, which wasn't an assumption. And they said, we even saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites live in the Negev. The Hittites, Jebusites, and Amorites live in the hill country, and the Canaanites live near the sea and along the Jordan. Then Caleb silenced him. He said, no, you all be quiet. He said, the people, he silenced the people right before Moses. We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. He was like, look, we can do it. But the other men who had gone up with him, they said, we can't attack those people. They're stronger than we are. How did they know? They never tried. And they spread among the Israelites and all the rest of the people a bad report about the land. And that's what I wanted you to really see here, is that it says it's a bad report. And so the word is telling us that a bad report is when you speak negative. That's what they did. They drew a conclusion that wasn't accurate. And so that was considered a bad report about the land. And so this other client that I had that kept denying the evidence that was there and kept complaining, they were giving themselves a bad report. The land we explored devours those living in it. How do they know that? All they did was have the fruit that they brought back. All the people we saw there are of great size. Okay, they might have been big. We saw the Nephilim there, the descendants of Anak come from, and they come from the Nephilim. We saw the Nephilim there. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. Did they interview them and say, hey, do we look like grasshoppers in your eyes? No, that was their assumption. And so you see how their perspective affected their actions. So they didn't go in and get the land they were supposed to get because of their negative perspective. And you all, this is how it happens even with us. I know things that I've been afraid of, and it's like, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, I've never had an experience in that particular area. Maybe it's something new. So if it's something new that I've never experienced, why would I be afraid of it? Yeah. And so, you all, this is what's so important. And so let's think about this here, okay? Let's think about this. I have some words or some phrases that I've heard commonly, and I want you to take a look at how we can turn those things around. And this is what you do in your mind. As a matter of fact, let me show you Romans 2. Let me show you this other one here. Give me a second. Give me a second. After Corinthians. This is how you want to reframe it. There it is. Okay, so let's take a look at this right here. Okay. And so Romans 12:2 says, do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and prove what God's will is, his good and pleasing will. And this is what we're doing. We're taking a look at what the word says, and we're using that to shift our perspective so that we can see the truth about the situation. That's going to change our actions, renewing our mind. And so this is what we're doing. We're changing our perspective about this. And when we think about renewing, then we think about meditating. We think about taking something that's different and continuing to roll it over and to roll it over in our mind. Now, let's take a look at these phrases here. Let's practice this, okay? Just wrote down a few things. 1, I've always struggled with weight. Okay? So there's one concept. Oh, I've always struggled with weight. Do you feel like getting up and making a change when you continue to have that ruling through your mind? You see, one of the issues is that we're not even aware that this is going through our mind. And that's why I want to slow down to go over this, because then you'll start to see, wow, I didn't know I was thinking this. I didn't know this was my perspective. So here's one. I've always struggled with weight. And then here's a different option. My body responds when I nourish it. You see? You're not coming up with some fluff. What you are is you're supporting the truth of the matter. Your body does respond when you nourish it. When you get enough rest, doesn't your body respond differently? Yes. If you're not hydrated and you become hydrated with some good electrolyte, clean water, is your body going to respond? Yes, it will respond. So my body responds when I nourish it. Instead of saying, I've always struggled with my weight. You see, one person might say, I've always struggled with my weight. And then they'll say, and then if I suggest, you know what, that's negative. But it's the truth. That's what it is. I've been struggling with it. You see? And so do you want to hold on to the struggle, or do you want it to change? Well, let's switch it. This is not a lie. My body responds when I nourish it. However, if you keep focusing on, you see, just like when we look at the book of Numbers, there were 2 different realities. Yeah, it was a reality. They had the food. Then there was the fact that they had never encountered these individuals, but they came up with this idea of what would happen if they encountered them, but they didn't have any evidence of that. They only had the evidence of the food, the nourishing food. And so by switching it, then it's almost like if you're walking in a particular direction. Like if you turn to the left, then you'll go to the left. If you look towards, like if you're driving your car and then you say, okay, I'm gonna look to the right, you're supposed to go straight, something's gonna happen. And so you want to go or look in that direction because that's where you want to go. Like you don't want to go to, I've always struggled with my weight. You want to go to what? The goal that you have. And so this is this is a different option. And here's another one. I'm too old to get strong. And then here's another option. My muscles rebuild at every age. So you see that flip? You're not denying that one thing has happened. However, this idea of I'm too old to get strong, that is an actual lie. Why? Because you are still living here. You don't have any evidence that that's there. Another one more is here. I fail every time. And then here's another option. I grow every time I try. So all of these are all facts. These are all truths that are here. But you make the choice as to which one you want to look at. And so now, take a look at some of these things, like we spoke of before. Take a look at some of those things that are rolling through your head. And remember, it's going to take a second for you to pause and think about it, to discover them. Get yourself a journal, write them down. What are these negative things going on in my head? What are these things that I'm believing? Well, I can't go into the gym, or I can't walk upstairs, or I have to go get, a one-level home because my other home has stairs. No. Allow yourself to actually build that evidence supporting yourself in these things. One of the things I'd say is I eat for nourishment. I enjoy eating things that are beneficial for my body. And what happens is you reframe the perspective that you have. Like you can tell your body what you want it to do. If you want to be lazy, you can make it lazy. You can make it lazy. If you want it to be dumb, you can make it dumb. It's going to listen and go in the direction that you're telling it to. And there's plenty of evidence as to that. Okay? This thing is very, very, very strong, very powerful. So whatever direction you want to go, this is what we need to start reframing. And this is why I wanted us to do this together today. Why? Because there's things that you need to accomplish. There's things that I need to accomplish. And this is how it's going to happen. So first, taking a second to see, well, what is it that's taking place right now? Like, what is it that's in the way? What continues to roll through my head that I'm not aware of? And usually when you look at your actions, you can see whatever it is. Oh, I want to do this, but I keep doing this. The thing I want to do, I'm not doing, I'm doing something different, like in Romans 7. And so we're looking at in correlation to how our body was built. And if we take a look at the design of the human body, we'll see what? That it's always trying to regenerate itself. Matter of fact, many times when we get symptoms, things we call symptoms or we think are negative, it's just our body trying to help us to heal. And so all of these things are trying to move in this direction. Now let's get our words to go along with that to help it, to help us to be able to see it, okay? And so write down these things and just take a second, a few seconds. Okay, what is it that's going through? You can put a little timer on. What are these things rolling through? And then assess them. And then you can compare them to the truth, the direction that you actually want to go. Okay? All right, you guys. So I hope that was helpful, and I look forward to talking to you soon.